To all of you raging conspiracy theorists out there that still believed that the moon landing was faked even with the release of First Man last year, okay, I'll give y'all a pass. But after this movie's release, there is no debate. For once and for all, the moon landing was not faked. What is up, everybody? Random Man here. Long time no movie review, but I am back bringing you my review for Apollo 11. Now, the premise of this documentary focuses on the Title 1969 lunar mission, which was the first space flight to land people on the moon. And that's just about it in terms of the concept for this film. It's really no more simple than that. Going into this movie, I got extra excited to see it, as a lot of buzz was surrounding it when it premiered at, say it with me now, the Sundance Film Festival back in January. Yes, this is the first film of 2019 that I am reviewing that premiered at that festival. And a lot of the huge talk around it was regarding how it featured a lot of never-before-seen restored footage from 50 years ago. As I mentioned in the intro, we recently got an entire narrative feature about the Apollo 11 mission in the form of Damien Chazelle's First Man, one of my favorite movies of 2018, recently the winner of the Best Visual Effects Oscar, so well deserved. And this is a really fantastic dramatization of those events, on top of it being a personal story about Neil Armstrong and what he went through before, during, and after those events as well. And with Apollo 11, again, it's an actual documentary showing a bunch of archive footage remastered and shown before us. And this movie, when it first came out this past weekend, got its release in an IMAX run that was running for 1 week only, and it got me a lot more pumped to see it. With all that being said, let's get into the structure of this doc. And like I said with the synopsis earlier, I cannot break it down into more simple terms, as we are literally just witnessing the Apollo 11 mission occur a little before it does happen, with some preparation, but for the bulk of it, we do see it happen as it literally did before our very eyes, with all of that never-before-seen footage, where we get to see Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins get up into their space shuttle, take off, orbit the moon for a bit, go down, come back up, and then get back to Earth. Many of us already know that that's how the mission went down, but the big selling point to this documentary is us witnessing this footage that was never previously released to the public, but now it has in the form of this feature film. And it is glorious to see all of this remastered footage right before our very eyes. I mean, just the amount of film and all other footage that was never before seen up until this point. It is crisply remastered, put up in HD. A lot of them are from 70mm prints, and just wow. This is like one of the greatest cleanups or just all around digital restorations I've ever seen for any type of film footage ever. It's all just so remarkably done, and it's instantly worth the price of admission alone to see this movie in how it is meant to be seen, especially in IMAX, as that is the only format one is able to see this film in at the time I am recording this review. And really, yeah, if you have the means, go out and see this thing in IMAX, as the picture quality, seeing it on the biggest screen possible with also the best audio possible. The sound design and all of that was booming through the speakers in my auditorium. One big thing that this doc uniquely features within it is no interviews or voiceover narration from any other third party regarding the Apollo 11 mission. There is voiceover narration throughout, mainly from Walter Cronkite reporting on the mission as it does happen, and then all of the radio conversations between mission control on the ground within Earth, and then the 3 astronauts that are in space as the mission is going on. This is a pretty interesting way to approach telling this story in a documentary form here, as we are literally just watching the mission play out in a really concise 93-minute running time. Yeah, this movie is a pretty quick and clean watch at about an hour and a half, and it flew by without any hitches. Also, in the way this movie ran, there was a bunch of intensity within it as well, just like how First Man was in its approach, especially with the space sequences of this movie having a lot with visuals, sounds, all of it making us feel really unsafe at some points, because this movie brilliantly emphasized how dangerous space travel was all those decades ago, and with Apollo 11 literally showing us the footage of the moon landing occurring in all of its big details. Yeah, it's so much more gratifying to see these 3 brave astronauts get up there with the big help of mission control. That's another big pro with this doc, as the movie did a phenomenal job in playing up how it took a literal village to make all of this happen. So many people were involved with this project, and there is this really telling tracking shot showing off all of the computers in mission control and all of the people in the same room assigned to different portions of the mission. It's all fantastically crafted by director and editor Todd Douglas Miller, as what he did was take on this huge task and taking all of this archival footage and condensing it to a feature-length documentary, showing us all of the big moments that we do want to see, but also giving us just enough context as to what is going on with the Apollo 11 mission, as this movie doesn't have much in terms of backstory or background with how this mission occurred. We do get to see quite a few photos of the 3 astronauts from their personal photo albums to give us a sense of who they are before they even took on this mission. But that's what I think this movie excels at. It is demonstratively direct in what it sets out to do, in literally showing us the mission as it happens, like I've mentioned before. And that I could see being a problem for some people, as if they want more insight to the Apollo 11 mission and are watching this movie, they're not going to get much of that. They can go research on their own if they want to. This movie's main goal was to show us the mission as if we were watching it for the first time, or to make us feel like we were actually there back in July of 1969. And director and editor Miller did an extraordinary job doing that. In fact, he won the Special Jury Award for editing back at Sundance, and he totally deserved that for accomplishing something that was pretty big to take on. I also have to give a shout out to Matt Morton, who composed the score for this film, as, again, just like First Man, it was effective in using its music to amp up the intensity and emotion that we were supposed to feel while watching the Apollo mission as it happened. Justin Hurwitz, likewise, with his Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Award winning score for First Man, did all of that and then some. And the all-around feel that I had while watching Apollo 11 was one of a lot of immense inspiration. I was in awe at many moments of this film, whether it was showing the actual task being accomplished with the moon landing, or getting glimpses of planet Earth itself from the perspective of being on the moon. It goes to show that the Earth is just this little speck in this big universe. And it has been emphasized time and time again how monumental this occasion was for it going down in history as one of mankind's greatest achievements. And to all of you out there that I called out in the intro of this video who still think that the moon landing was faked and that Stanley Kubrick, the master Stanley Kubrick, was hired to do it all just because he made and released 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968, a year before the moon landing occurred, y'all are crazy. Like, seriously, that's ridiculous to still think that this monumentous occasion was indeed faked. Ugh. This movie just totally debunks all of that. It's just like if you're a Holocaust denier. It was heavily documented with photos, film footage, and even the testimonies by those who were greatly affected and survived that dark, dark moment in human history. Just, ugh. And in getting back to the main topic at hand here, there really isn't that much for me to say about this film, other than that this is the definitive masterwork in terms of watching anything related to Apollo 11. And as I've mentioned many, many times in this review in regards to comparing it to First Man, I think that Apollo 11 is the perfect companion piece to this film and vice versa, as both films are strengthened by what they do best. Plus, Apollo 11 proves the authenticity of First Man in what was shown off with this movie and all of its dramatization. Also, for all those people out there that complained that First Man didn't show the actual planting of the American flag on the moon's surface, you get that here with Apollo 11. So that'll appease all those patriotic folks out there to see that America moment occur. Film as a medium is meant for projects just like Apollo 11 in transporting us to a time gone by and giving us a sense of what happened during the era in which it is about. And I cannot think of any complaints in terms of watching this movie and seeing history as it plays out right before our very eyes. The bar has now been set to an out-of-this-world level with this documentary. As I mentioned earlier, this movie goes into nationwide release, at least here in the US, this upcoming weekend. But if you have the means to go out and see this movie right now in IMAX, go do so. But if you have to wait until this upcoming week, seeing it on the big screen is the way this film is meant to be seen. We're already a week removed from this year's Academy Awards, but I can already see this being the front runner for Best Documentary Feature next year. At least I hope so. It better make the shortlist for that category. I adore this film. It is one of the best docs I have seen all decade. I cannot recommend it more highly enough. My final verdict for Apollo 11 is 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Apollo 11, social media links in the description, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.